welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have the Pray for the Wicked book tag. So some of you may know I put out a tweet on Twitter and said any booktuber that likes Panic at the Disco, please comment on this. And this is the reason why. This is an original tag created by me based on Panic at the Disco's brand new Pray for the Wicked album. When I did my 1K giveaway, a lot of you said that you wanted me to do an original tag and a lot of you said that you love my tags. So it's come a little bit sooner than planned. I wasn't planning on doing an original book tag so soon, but I love this album so much that I just had to do it. Funny story actually, when I put my tweet out, another booktuber got in contact with me and asked if I was planning a book tag because she has also planned a Panic at the Disco book tag. It is different from this one, so if you do want to go check it out, I will put it in the cards above and also the description box. It is by Jess from Read by Jess, who is an awesome booktuber and you should go check her out anyway. But I'm so excited to show you this, so let's just get straight into it.
We gonna save on it. We gonna save on it. Rich Rick, Beyonce, Lemonade. We gonna save on it. We gonna save on it. No delay, no halfway. Let me hear you say one more, one more, one more.
So for Fuck a Silver Lining, it is a book that you didn't expect to like, that you loved, or a not so great book that had a silver lining that kept you hooked. For this, I've picked The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. When I read the blurb of this, I just wasn't impressed. I didn't really know what it was about. It said something about psychics in the government and I was like, I don't even know what genre this is. Don't think I'm gonna like it. But oh my god, I loved it. It's so confusing going into it, and there is a glossary at the back, so if like me, you didn't realise that there's a glossary and you struggled through, here is your notice. There is a glossary. Check out those words you don't understand because they are in the back. But this is about sort of underground psychic gangs in London, and essentially it's illegal to be a psychic and they're hunted by the government. But then it does have like a bit of a fantasy edge and a bit of a paranormal edge, and it's just a really complex, amazingly thought out world, and I ended up really loving this book. For Say Amen Saturday night, you can pick either a book that you were thankful it was over, or a book you would willingly spend all Saturday night reading. So as it's my original tag, I am going to do both, and the book that I was most thankful for being over most recently is Sex and the City by Candice Bushnell. I found this to be really vapid. It was told from the perspective of a magazine columnist who was sort of critiquing all of these celebrities and it people in New York, and I just didn't care. It was just about dating in New York and I was just so bored. And for a book that I would spend all Saturday night reading, instead of going for like one of my all-time favourite books, I went for the book that I've read the fastest the most recently, and that was Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Considering that I predominantly love fantasy, I tend to read contemporaries way faster. I read this in a 10-hour period. Absolutely loved it. This is about a girl who used to be friends with this millionaire's son, and the millionaire goes missing. There's a reward for his return, and her and her best friend sort of go to investigate the case. However, as with most John Green books, that actual plot is like a subplot, and the main plot of this is that the main character Asa is struggling with anxiety and thought spirals, and it's her struggle with mental illness. I've heard that it is triggering. I don't suffer from mental illness myself, but those of you who do have said that it is quite triggering, so you have to be in a safe place to read it. And if you are, then you'll probably enjoy it, because I've also heard that the representation is absolutely amazing. But I absolutely flew through this and I just loved it so much.
Are you ready for the sequel? Are you ready for the latest? In the combat people, who gonna be the greatest? In the cold cathedral, I'll be praying for the faithless. And if you lose, boo-hoo, hey, look my way.
For Hey Look Ma, I Made It, it is a book that you felt accomplished for finishing. And for that I've picked God's Grave by J. Kristoff, not because this is a bad book at all. I absolutely adore this book. But when I read it, it was December and work was really busy and there was a lot of stuff going on and I wasn't in the right mood to read. It was a bad time of my life, plus all of the hectic Christmas stuff going on, and it took me 1 month to finish this. So when I kind of put this book down, I was like, right, this book is done. Move on to the next chapter of your life. Move on to your next book. This book represents all the things that happened and you're done with it now. So pick up a new book, move on, read faster, get on with it. So I felt really accomplished when I'd finished this because it was also sort of like closing that difficult chapter and busy period of my life.
Mama said, don't give up, it's a little complicated. I'll tie it up, no alone, and I hate to see you waiting.
High Hopes is a book that you had high hopes for but has fallen flat. And for this I've picked a book that a lot of people on booktube really love, and that is the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. I read the first two. I am going to reread them and give them another chance because it was when the second book was released, was when I read the two. And I did enjoy them. I just think that they've been very overhyped. I didn't love them as much as I expected to based on what everybody else thinks about them. So I do like them. They just weren't super amazing. I think I gave one of them 4 stars, one of them 3 stars. So like I did really enjoy them. I just expected to fully love them and be obsessed, and I just wasn't. For Roaring Twenties, pick a book that makes you feel nostalgic. And for me, that is definitely this old beaten up first UK print of Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. This is so tatty and so loved. I've read this particular physical book 15 times. I chose this one for this because I actually have memories attached to it. I remember sitting on a sun lounger in the back garden in summer drinking a lager shandy my dad had made me, and I spilled it in the pages. So I have a lot of memories attached to this. A lot of you will also be nostalgic for Twilight. And there's like tons of books I could pick for this because there's a lot of books that played a really big part in my childhood, but this is the one that has so many memories with it. Then we have Dancing's Not a Crime, and for this, pick a book that BookTube makes you feel like it's a crime for either loving or hating it. Once again, because this is the original tag, I've picked a loving book and a hating book. So the book that BookTube makes me feel like it's a crime for loving is November 9 by Colleen Hoover. I gave this 4 stars. I completely agree that it's so problematic, like it really is. But I still loved it. I can see past the problematic nature and still love it, which I guess probably makes me part of the problem. But I can't help it. This book was just so addictive. I think that's the thing. Like, I was just so addicted to it to keep reading that I love it. And a book that BookTube makes me feel like it's a crime for hating is a little strong because I don't hate this book. But once again, I just don't see the hype. And that is Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna Maguire. I read this last year. It was okay. I did listen to the audiobook, and I've said this before. I am going to try and read this again physically because the audiobook was just not a good audiobook. But from what I heard of the audiobook, I was just kind of bored. I didn't understand the excitement. I don't understand at all why people love it. Like, I really love the concept, but the execution for me and the actual interior meat of the book just completely disappointed me. but I am going to see if I can get a copy from my library at some point in the future and read it physically, because I do think that a lot of the reasons I didn't enjoy this is because of the audiobook.
Shake it up, now it's time to party. Shake up, like a screwdriver. Every weekend with your friends, every weekend with your friends. Damn, it's all good, I guess. This is what it feels like when you become one of the pros. This is what it feels like when you become one of the pros. Searching for a new high, high as the sun, every morning. This is what it feels like when you become one of the pros. What it feels like.
For one of the drunks, it is a book that you got drunk on and then left you in a book hangover. And for me, this is 100% Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I loved this so much. I was savouring it. I was reading it so slowly because I was so invested in the world and the writing and everything that goes on. I don't like to say much about this book because I love that I went in blind. I had the greatest experience going into it blind. It's a beautiful mix of genres. The writing is just so good. Like, it's amazing. It's the best writing ever. Like, I don't think I've actually read a book that I feel, personally, because it is subjective, is better written than Strange the Dreamer. So excited for Muse of Nightmares. I absolutely love this, and then I just couldn't, I just didn't want to read. I was still reading because I don't sort of give in to book hangovers. I continue to read as I normally would, even though I'm not really feeling it, but I just didn't want to read anything because the story was over. For The Overpass, it is a book that deals with difficult subject matter, and for this I picked All of the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. This is a story about an 8-year-old girl and a 23-year-old man. They meet. The girl is from a very difficult background. Her dad is abusive and a drug dealer. Her mum is a drug addict. She's looking after her baby brother, and this 23-year-old guy comes in and sort of says, right, I'm going to make sure your clothes are washed, I'm going to make sure you eat, I'm going to make sure you get to school. And they form a bond because of this, but as she starts to get older, when she gets into her teens, it does turn romantic. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. The subject matter is very difficult. It deals with paedophilia, addiction, violence, murder, sexual violence, everything like that. It is just problematic in every way you can possibly think of. But I liked how it was written, and I liked how the story was woven. Obviously, this is not a book that I would recommend generally, but if you can handle dark subject matter, if you're okay reading about problematic content, it does not promote this kind of relationship, but it doesn't villainize it either. If you are comfortable reading that, then I would recommend it. However, if you're not comfortable with any of those subjects, then definitely steer clear.
Don't trust anything or anyone below the sun. I don't feel anything at all. I'm king of the
For King of the Clouds, it is your go-to book to lift you up when you're feeling down. And for this, I've picked A Course of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. If I'm ever having a difficult time, I like to reread some of the scenes from this book because Feyre and Rhys are my OTP, even though I do think that they're overdone and should be left alone now. This book is just gorgeous. I love the feelings I get when I read it. I love the romance, I love the world, I love the inner circle. Everything about this book just makes me happy and can cheer me up when I'm feeling down. It's beautiful, it's a bit tragic, but overall, very, very uplifting book for me because I'm so attached to it.
It's a loss of a hole where believers can see, and there's no memories when it's over.
For Old Fashioned, I want you to pick your favourite book that was published before the year 2000. So this could be a childhood favourite, it could be a classic, As long as it's published before 2000 or has sort of like an old-fashioned feel to it, then it's completely valid. And I've picked Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging by Louise Renison. This is the first book in the Confessions of Georgie Nicholson. They made a film based on the first 2 books, I think, of the series. And yeah, this is the main book that I read as a child. This was the series that I like absolutely adored. And it's just like my childhood book, you know? Like, we all have one. This one's mine.
Every face along the boulevard is a dreamer just like you. You looked to death in a tarot card and you saw what you had to do. But nobody knows you now when you died in LA. Nobody knows you now when you died in LA. When you died in LA. When you died in LA. The power, the power, the power. Oh, the power, the power, the power of LA.
And for Dying in LA, I want you to pick a book that you love, that you think is underhyped. I have picked Depression and Other Magic Tricks. I can't remember the author right now. This is a collection of poetry. I think it's like slam poetry and spoken word pieces, but it's the best poetry collection I have read, and I've only seen a couple of people reading it. Ali from Hardback Hoarder read it last month, I think, but apart from that, I haven't really seen anybody reading this at all. I like it better than The Princess Saves Herself in this one. The poetry speaks to me more than what I've read of Rupi Kaur. And yeah, I don't know why anybody isn't reading it, because it's really good. It has a really good flow because it's spoken word, and it deals with mental illness and broken homes and the feeling of bitterness you have towards an absentee parent and all sorts of things like that. And I really enjoyed it, and I want to see more people reading it because I know that you all love modern poetry, but I haven't really seen anyone reading this book. The author who writes this book actually went viral for one of these pieces, and I think it's called something like Explaining Depression to My Mother. I'll see if I can link the video down below so you can get a feel of what the poetry will be. It is performed by her, and yeah, you'll get a sense of what is going to be in this book. But that is everything for the Pray for the Wicked book tag. I have a whole lot of people to tag. All of them will go in the description box below. Also, if you love Panic at the Disco, feel free to do this. Feel free to answer any of the questions to this tag down below. I do really hope you've enjoyed this. This is my first original book tag, and I'm so excited for you all to see it. Please don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to. If you head into my description box, you'll find all of those people tagged, all of the questions, everything you need to know, as well as my Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, and I also have a Curious Cat now if you want to follow me or interact with me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish Body Butter and Candle website, the Instagram for that, and 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today. Bye!